Hi, I'm Mark Fletcher, and I'm Vice President of Public Safety Solutions at 911 Inform. I'm not a lawyer, and nothing that I say should be construed as legal advice. The information presented here is a culmination of best practices from many different sources.
Is E911 even the right term anymore?
No. While E911 networks will exist for years, Next Generation 911 funding is active on a national level, and dozens of states have implemented their back-end networks. Talking about E911 today is like talking about analog devices on a SIP PBX.
Then should we abandon E911 and only focus on NG911?
Yes, that would be the most proactive approach, as the legacy technologies are pretty much dead.
What responsibilities do companies have to provide E911 location and call routing management for their remote employees?
All companies are required to be compliant with the rules that are defined under Kerry's Law as well as the Ray-Bombs Act.
What does it mean to be compliant with Ray-Bombs Act and Kerry's Law?
Compliance is required by the U.S. Code of Federal Regulations under Title 47, Section 9.5. Now, companies need to be compliant with all of the rules specified. There is no partial credit for just some of the rules. And those rules specifically are direct access to 911 without an access code, so being able to just dial 911 from any device, no local interception of the call. It's got to go directly to 911. You need to provide some mechanism of on-site notification so that people in the facility are aware that the call has taken place. You need to provide a callback number to someone at the facility that has knowledge of the 911 call, not necessarily the individual that dialed 911, and also delivered to on-site personnel as well as the ECC 911 center, a dispatchable location. And once again, all 5 are required to be compliant.
Do old phone systems have to be upgraded?
While the law doesn't require an old non-compliant telephone system to be upgraded, it does require that if that system is upgraded, it has to be made compliant with the current legislation.
Exactly who is responsible for making the MLTS system compliant?
When it comes to compliance, everyone is responsible, and that includes the manufacturer to provide a mechanism for becoming compliant. It includes the person who sells the telephone system or distributes it to at least offer to the end customer solutions to become compliant, but ultimately it's down to the end user to implement a solution that makes that system compliant.
Is it safe to assume that employees will call 911 from their personal mobile devices so companies don't have to worry about compliance?
The laws dictate compliance from multi-line telephone system or MLTS devices. They're not designed to cover the cellular telephones, at least those calls on the native dialer. Now, if there's an application on the cellular telephone that is an MLTS client, that would be covered under the law.
What are the requirements of 911 calling for personal mobile devices and for emerging FMC solutions like Verizon One Talk, Teams Phone Mobile, and WebEx Go?
Once again, the U.S. Code of Federal Regulations under Title 47 mandates telephone dialing from multi-line telephone systems. At this point in time, it doesn't cover those other technologies.
What are the best practices for handling 911 calls for employees who do not have a dedicated direct inward dial number?
From an access perspective, despite the fact that they don't have a DID number, they still have to be able to place a 911 call and comply to all of the other rules that are focused around Kerry's Law and the Ray-Bombs Act. This includes providing some type of callback number to reach someone at the facility, as well as on-site notification.
What are the costs and risks of noncompliance?
While there's no specific penalty defined for this particular violation, The U.S. Code of Federal Regulations Title 47 defines that the default would apply. That default is $10,000 per occurrence plus $500 per day per device. And that can get quite expensive.
There is a distinct lack of clarity around the definition of dispatchable location. What does it mean?
The Rebombs Act Section 506 clearly defines that a dispatchable location needs to be provided with a 911 call. How that dispatchable location is achieved is left up to the customer. A dispatchable location means the location delivered to the PSAP with a 911 call that consists of the validated street address of the calling party, plus additional information such as suite, apartment, or similar information necessary to adequately identify the location of the calling party. That's under 47 CFR, Section 9.3. Enterprises are encouraged to work with their emergency responders that will come to the facility, as well as their legal department, to define those actual terms.
How should 911 strategies integrate with overall incident management and response strategies?
Every facility should maintain an emergency response plan for various types of emergencies. 911 calls are just another type that need to be addressed, and these should be included in the overall plan.
As an enterprise IT leader, what should I plan for concerning NG911?
The migration to next generation 911 is like any other migration. The migration from TDM to digital telephony, from analog to voice over IP, or from fixed to wireless technology. Each evolution brings on its own challenges with technology that has to be assessed from the impact of that technology on day-to-day operations. Next generation 911 is no different.
What information must companies convey to employees with respect to the ability of the company to accurately route 911 calls with dispatchable location information?
Companies need to include reminders in training as they do for any life safety services. Best practices around fire drills, first aid kits, as well as the proper use of communications devices are all critical. The intricacies of making an emergency call should be part of their onboarding training as well as annual refreshers. Over the last decade, communications devices and methods have undergone a significant advancement. The traditional methods of calling 911 will soon become outdated, and generating emergency service requests is going to become commonplace. In the past, if you had a fire, you'd call the fire department. In the future, your building just may do that for you. Just as fire alarm panels have been put into buildings to expedite that emergency call, 911 emergencies will go through a similar advancement. In some cases, they already have. I'm Mark Fletcher, and I'm Vice President of Public Safety Solutions at 911 Informed. Thanks so much for watching. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Fletch911. You can check out my profile on LinkedIn and Facebook. And be sure to check out all my blogs and podcasts on Fletch.tv.